The concept of a Sith Acolyte is nothing new. Differentiated from Dark Acolyte, Sith Acolytes first appeared in Darth Bane Path of Destruction, and while they were also alluded to in the Old Republic, the canon High Republic show The Acolyte has canonized many aspects about them, and in a sense, may have just changed our understanding of a very interesting character dynamic in the prequel trilogy. Let's dive in. Okay, so here's a question I've seen being asked a couple of times which I really want to address. Has The Acolyte changed our perception of Count Dooku and Obi-Wan in Episode 2 Attack of the Clones? And you might be saying, Meg, that's 100 years down the line. Why would this be relevant? Well, let me explain. The contention is this. Star Wars canon has brought back the concept of a Sith Acolyte, a third member in the Sith Rule of Two, someone trained by the apprentice, trying to one day overtake them, in the same way the apprentice is hoping to overthrow his Sith Lord. And I suppose it would seem a Sarge Ventress better fits that description. But Sith apprentices could have multiple acolytes, and because the Sarge Ventress didn't make it into Episode 2 which he was supposed to, let's just focus on what the movie gave us. When Dooku was trying to recruit Obi-Wan, was he trying to make Obi-Wan his acolyte? Well, yes and no. This theory does work, to an extent. But we've also got to consider the fact the context for Count Dooku is very different. He wasn't a conventional Sith, and his conversation to Obi-Wan on Geonosis is often misconstrued. So for this video, I'm going to be drawing upon Attack of the Clones and the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, which does give us some very useful information too. We've got to remember this. The reason Dooku wanted Obi-Wan to join him is Obi-Wan was the Padawan of Dooku's former apprentice Qui-Gon Jinn. Dooku saw a lot of the qualities of Qui-Gon through Kenobi, and he was revered as a wise Jedi Master. It was a moment for Dooku to really test if, like Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan had a bit of a deviant nature in him as well, following the will of the living Force, instead of blindly following the Jedi Council's doctrine. I think in many ways, Dooku saw a lot of himself in Obi-Wan's temperament, a lot of what he was before his departure. However, Obi-Wan was not like him in many ways. And according to Sidious, too by the book, Obi-Wan did have much more of a human and pathetic side to him than most of the Jedi, even at times being more flexible with his beliefs and morals, but not to the extent of joining Dooku's separatist cause. Now here's the perspective that is often forgotten. The Sith didn't want measly apprentices, they wanted ones of repute, ones who had power, wisdom, and skill. Dooku saw a lot of that potential in Obi-Wan. In a sense, he wanted to mold Kenobi into what he thought he could have been, had he left the Order early enough. There's an interesting manipulation going on from Dooku. He is trying to dismantle Obi-Wan's trust in the Republic, trying to dismantle his view of what he sees as pure democracy. So when Dooku says to Obi-Wan, "What if I told you the Republic is now under the control of a Dark Lord of the Sith?" He was hoping to capture Obi-Wan's intrigue, hoping, in a sense, he was more like his master. Even though Kenobi says Qui-Gon would have never joined him. Dooku felt disappointed and abandoned his efforts and left. He was hoping in the moment Obi-Wan would wonder, well, who is it? Is it someone I know and trust? How can I trust anything that the Republic tells me? And at first, it almost comes across as an emotional plea, as sentimental. Dooku by all accounts seemed to have genuinely cared for Qui-Gon, and therefore his legacy through Obi-Wan. Dooku even alludes to this by saying, "Qui-Gon always spoke very highly of you. I wish he was still alive." For years it seemed very odd. Count Dooku would reveal so much of the truth to Obi-Wan. And while yes, Count Dooku was conceited and loved to boast, it seemed like a misstep. But according to one theory, the Acolytes may have recontextualized why Tyrannus wanted to recruit Obi-Wan in the first place. Based on what he told Obi-Wan, in the traditional way of the Sith, Dooku had every intention of overthrowing his master, even positioning himself to be a hero of both the Jedi and the Republic. He may have been trying to lure Obi-Wan to become his acolyte. Now, in the Revenge of the Sith novelization, they allude to the fact Darth Sidious didn't trust Obi-Wan but Count Dooku did, and Dooku even tells Palpatine Obi-Wan would make a good, trusted ally. Count Dooku argued having a well-respected Jedi like Obi-Wan on their side would bring true legitimacy to the cause, but much to Dooku's dismay, Sidious dismisses it, stating Obi-Wan was too far gone, too strong in his convictions to be swayed away from the ways of the Jedi. But Anakin Skywalker wasn't, and that is who Sidious targeted. And it's made clear in the book, Dooku's reverence and interest in Obi-Wan greatly disturbed Palpatine. He saw Dooku as too sentimental and weak. One of the reasons Palpatine had him killed by Anakin, soon to be Darth Vader, Palpatine's new apprentice. And I've spoken about this in the context of Balin's Skull, but of course it applies to Count Dooku as well. His motivations never matched that of a true Sith. Even long after his death, his political ambitions, motivations and ideals as the head of the CIS were revered and idolized as their own philosophy. We often apply the label negotiator to Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Dooku was a talented negotiator too in his own right. In a sense, Dooku believed he was doing what was right, to progress in building a better future for the entire galaxy. He sacrificed everything to pursue his path, and some say he was right. The reason I think Tales of the Jedi is one of the best Star Wars projects they've done in recent years is because we see Dooku's fall in a brand new light, suggesting he was right about the Jedi's arrogance all along. The former Jedi grew disillusioned with the Order, something even Master Yaddle agreed with, repeating the hubris and hypocrisy of its members, and as I said in a previous video, he was the strongest critic of Master Yoda. So, he was right in his assessment, and correct in judging the Jedi for being blind, especially to the manipulations of the Dark Lord of the Sith in the shadows. So while there is a theory that states Dooku wanted Obi-Wan as his own Sith acolyte, I don't think that is what Dooku was thinking in his own mind. I think it's more complex than that. Dooku's effort was to find a third way. This is even explicitly mentioned in the book Dooku Jedi Lost. In his heart of hearts, he didn't embody a true Sith, but carried similar ambitions, the way he manipulated, sought power, and possessed a deep distrust of the Jedi Order. But Dooku was also a man of honor, and just like Balin, there is a disappointment to what the Jedi had become, and that's why he grieved so deeply the loss of Qui-Gon. He wondered, would he have joined him? I can't imagine Qui-Gon would have agreed with the ways Dooku went about it, but there is no doubt, long before his death, Qui-Gon perceived the full nature of the way the Jedi became, and predicted their loss of purpose, as guardians of peace and balance. I love talking about Dooku because he is such a fascinating, in-the-middle, not-by-the-book, misunderstood Star Wars character, probably the most misunderstood character in the entire Star Wars saga. And in simple terms, many have interpreted the offer on Geonosis as wanting a partner to overthrow Sidious, creating his own vision. I've seen some fascinating theories about what Dooku's so-called empire would have been had the CIS succeeded after the war, had Palpatine the Puppeteer lost. And I also think about the Clone Wars episode The Lost One, where Dooku reflects on what he said to Kenobi, "You should have joined me." But what do you guys think of this theory that maybe Dooku was looking for an acolyte, if they were going with the Sith rule of 2, but the apprentice being permitted his own acolyte? Share your thoughts on this theory, my dear friends, in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and just before I go, if you want to support the channel and what I do here, please be sure to check out our Patreon, the link is down below. Lots of content not found on YouTube, exclusive vlogs, streams, collaborations, there's a lot there. But until the next one, may the Force be with you, always.